Elaine from RHS Gardens, and today I'm going to be showing you a step-by-step guide on how to grow runner beans from seed. That's how they look. Everything you're going to need for this tutorial will be coming up next and will also be displayed below in the description box, so you can find all the bits that you're going to need to follow me doing this project. Just make sure when you've got your seeds that you first of all read all the instructions on the back of the seed packet. They're very detailed and really helpful, so it tells you the months of the year when you want to sow them and when they're going to be ready for harvesting. It's a little colour code, and it'll also tell you the depth that you want to be planting your seeds, so you know what you're doing. So I'm going to show you these, and yours should be very similar. Just make sure that the detail on yours is correct, that you're following. So let's get planting. So these are our runner bean seeds, and as you'll see, they look exactly like the seeds you get in the bean pods when you open them. The plant just replicates itself. So these are the seeds, all looking really nice and healthy, and importantly just make sure that they feel smooth and kind of fresh. If they feel dry at all, discard them, don't use them, they're not going to be any good. Yeah, they need to be nice and plump and looking healthy. So you don't want to waste time on seeds that aren't any good, because they're not going to produce anything. So if you're not sure, don't bother, it's not worth it. But yeah, nice and juicy and plump, and we're going to get planting. Okay, so if you're using a clean pot that's new, you can skip this step, but this is just if you're using pots from last year and they're a bit grubby and they need a bit of a clean out. It's really important to remove any of the old material in the pot and any signs of mould or mildew, because there can be residual pests and diseases left from the previous soil. So it's really important to give it a nice clean with a stiff brush, and then we're going to sterilise it with boiling water from the kettle. So I'm going to get on and do that and show you once that's done. So as you can see, I've given it a good stiff brush, and also it's important to do the inside around the edge as well, not just at the bottom. So once I've loosened all that old material, I just want to sterilise it. So I've got my boiling water here from my kettle, and I'm just going to tip that in. So it's important to pour it around the sides, keeping it away from yourself. And at the bottom. So make sure that you do the whole pot and give it a good clean, and also clean the outside of the pot, because we're going to put some copper sticky tape on, and we want to make sure that that can adhere without any debris underneath, so it's got a good adhesion to the plastic. So once I've done that, then I'll show you the next stage. Right, so our nice clean pots, and you'll notice that all pots have a lip around the top, and something to pay attention to is when you're growing fruit and veg in pots, slugs and snails love to hide under here. They'll climb up here, sit under there during the day, and then at night they'll come out and munch your crop. So I'm just going to show you a trick how to stop them from doing that, and try and keep them off as much as possible. So what I've got here is copper sticky tape, and this stuff is brilliant at putting around the pots to keep the slugs and snails off, because they're your biggest enemy. So I always have a pair of garden scissors, old ones from the kitchen that I use outside, and you can see they're a bit muddy, but really useful. So any old bits in the kitchen that you've got, don't throw them away, don't take them down the charity shop, use them in the garden. And yeah, the cats are in there as always, thank you Susie. So we're just going to cut off some strips here and I'll show you how to do this. So with the copper tape, you'll see that there's a white side, which is the other side of the sticky, and then on the top of the tape there's a kind of plastic coating. Leave this on, don't take that off until the last minute. The copper is quite sharp and it can tear, so I would recommend that you leave that on as you're putting it on, and I'm going to get started with that. So you want to put two rings of copper on, I recommend, and we're going to put one that's going to cover the lip, and underneath this, I think this tape is about must be about 4 centimeters long, something like that. You want a reasonably wide tape, and you want to get it so that it's kind of on the lip and covering this under here so that nothing can get in underneath there. That's the aim. And then at the bottom, where on this particular pot I've got holes the size at the bottom, and I'm going to put the tape here as well, so the water can still drain, but it's going to stop them from getting in there. Okay, so when we attach this, we want to peel away this white layer. The sticky is on the underside of the copper tape, and the white paper is just the stickies here on this side. So we want to peel away the white paper very gently and just stick this on. It's quite difficult to do single-handedly. Oh, just going to do it like that and just stick that on, so that's it's very sticky stuff. And then we're going to just press that down firmly, and that is then going to fold so that we're going to completely cover this hole under here. Right, so I'm just going to carry on with that. Just do it. You can do it in stages. Cut a bit and then apply it, and then cut a bit. It's easier because we want to go around like this. So what I would suggest is, yeah, do kind of a bit and then cut it and stick it as you go. It's best to take time with this, don't rush it. Okay, so I've got my tape on more or less. Just be really careful because this stuff is very sharp, and don't sort of go on the edges, just try to smooth it from the middle outwards, because I've cut myself a few times on this. You know, if you need, wear gloves, but yeah, just be careful. This stuff is quite expensive, but I found it's the only solution to keeping the slugs and snails off, and it does last for a whole season, and I think I've actually managed to sort of keep it going for a couple of years, so I think it's worth it. I want my beans to be lovely and have a fighting chance. So once that's all smoothed off, we can now take off this plastic paper. And the plastic, it's important that you take this off, otherwise the slugs and snails are just going to romp away over the top. So as you take this off, You just really got to be careful that you just don't cut yourself because it's so sharp. So just make sure that is off, and then you are good. You're good to go. Okay, so I'm now going to put some tape on the bottom because these holes are quite large, and when I water them, there's going to be a lot of water coming out, so I want to reduce the amount of water coming out, and also helps stop anything trying to climb up the sides as well. So I'm just going to put a ring around the bottom, just sort of, I don't know, about there, just to allow the water to drain out but not to completely dry out too quickly. Okay, so I've got my tape on, just going to smooth it right down. You can see now why it's important to put this on first before you put the compost in, because it's very difficult to do when you can't, if you're trying to do it from above. So get the copper tape on first, and then you're ready to put the compost in and sow your seeds. So just make sure it's nicely smoothed down and really firmly attached, because when you're watering it is going to lift a bit, and it's important to get a really good stick on there. Okay, so our pot's all done, ready to go, and we just need to add some compost now. So I've got some really good stuff here. Ideally just some general multi-purpose will be good enough. It just contains the macro and micronutrients that your seed will need to get going, and it should have a nice consistency and not too thick. I'm just going to show you now. So you can see this is fairly fine material. It's not dusty. I think that's really important, that the compost isn't dusty. So you just want it's nice and moist and a rich, nice mixture. So using your trowel, just scoop it in a bit at a time. And when you're about a quarter of the way up the pot, you want to stop and give it a firm down. So I've got my gloves here. So I'm now ready to just give that a firm down. So it's about a quarter of the way, just a gentle firm. You're not pressing down hard, you're just a gentle tap just to remove any air pockets, and then just keep filling like that until you get 3/4 of the way to the top. Okay, so I've just got the last of the compost in, and I've been filling and firming down gently as I go. So as you can see here now, the pot is fairly full. I've got it, I don't know, about an inch below the top of the pot, because we're going to be adding bean sticks later as well for these runner bean seeds to grow up. So it's important that we've got a good depth that we can put our bean sticks in, so they're not going to wobble about too much. So that is more or less ready for planting now. So nice and firm, but it's not rock hard, because we want the bean roots to be able to flow out in between the soil particles and romp away. We don't want them to be too compacted. That's important to remember. So it's just getting the balance right, and when you've done it a few times you'll get to know. But so if it's gently firmed, that'll be fine. So let's plant our seeds now. So just before we plant our seeds, we just want to make sure that the compost is nice and moist. So I'm just gonna quickly give that a water just prior. We don't want to soak it, but we just want the soil to be moist so that the seeds will be then ready to start their germination. So you'll notice that on my watering can I've got a rose. This is a rose. It has little perforations and it helps disperse the water widely over the pot rather than it all coming out in one load, because you'll end up with big dips in your pot. So if you haven't got a rose for your watering can, I really suggest that you get one, particularly if you're growing many things from seed. You just want to make sure that the seeds aren't damaged or moved around when you're watering. So I'm just going to give this a quick soak. So you might want to just soak a little bit, let that water percolate down, and then just do a second water just to let that go right down. And you can see it sprays nicely over the pot. Okay. So just give that a few moments. So we've got our nice fresh seeds, and as always we check the packet, and these ones need to be 5 centimetres or about 2 inches below the surface of your compost. And for rule of thumb, 2 inches or 5 centimetres is about the length of your thumb. So that makes it nice and easy when we want to plant. So I've got my seeds ready, and I'm just going to put my gloves on and show you the planting. We're all ready to plant our runner bean seeds, and we want to plant them equidistant apart. I like to do 3 to a pot like this and plant them in a triangle, because you've got to remember they're going to be growing up bamboo canes, and we want them spaced a bit apart but not too close to the edge, not in a line but in a triangle. I find that's easiest. So with your thumb you want to then press down into the pot and just make a hole and just wiggle it around a bit. So you can see here, should be able to see my 3 holes. Just make sure that's, you can use your finger just to make sure they're fine. And then now we're going to add our seeds. So take your seed and just place it in the bottom of the hole with the white bit facing up. Don't know if you can see that, with the white bit facing up. There we go, and just place those in the bottom of the hole. Press gently, and we don't want to squish the seeds. So make sure they're in, facing up as if you can. If they're not, it's not the end of the world. And then we want to just backfill the compost over the top. So, and then we're just firming down, so we're backfilling and just firming down. If you're using seeds which aren't brand new this year, you might want to plant a couple together, do 6 instead of 3, just in case that some of them don't germinate. But if they're fresh seeds, there's no reason why they shouldn't if you're watering and tending them. So okay, so the pots are all done now, so looking forward to germination. So I hope that you have found this tutorial helpful. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please click the subscribe button below, and I look forward to showing you how my beans are doing in a few weeks time, and I wish you all the luck with yours as well. So take care, stay well, and happy gardening. I hope you have success with your plants. I'm going to be looking to see how these are doing in a few weeks' time, so you can check your progress with me. And so stay safe and stay well, and I look forward to seeing you soon.